Yes, my earliest memories are really about the fact that he was a very simple person, and his ways were extremely simple, and I remember him as a very honest, straight, and very bold person. I don't think I ever saw him as a person who shirked his responsibilities, not only towards the family, towards whatever he did, mainly as my father and father of my two of my brothers. I had my twin sister, then my younger sister, Kamala. So the way he treated all of us was wonderful. I remember him treating each one of us in a very similar manner. He didn't have favorites. He never had favorites. We were all his favorites. And the fact remains that he came from a poor background. His father was supposed to be a carpenter, a good carpenter. He was considered to be by all who knew him as a extremely straightforward, straight man, and he was never fearful of expressing his views on any matter. I can remember very often my mother used to ask him to join the family to go to temple, and very often he has said, I'm observing not only the 5 precepts, even the 8 precepts, Eightfold Path, and I don't need to go to temple. But if you insist, yes, I'll come. His interest in music, as I remember, was the fact that I saw a pile of classical records, such as from, I think, Chopin was one, Beethoven, and Mozart, of course, and some other sort of deep classics like maybe Tchaikovsky's, whom I did not like that much, and few Johann Strauss's records. His interests were very, very simple, nothing involved. He had a great love for what he did. I remember him as the principal initially of Dharmaraj. It was the time that I would have been in my maybe early teens. I not even, must have been 10, 12, that sort of age, I guess. And the fact remains that he used to always encourage us to go to school early in the morning. All the school starts, I think, at 8 o'clock. He would be there by 7. And he expects us also to go with him. Sometimes we do go together. Very often he goes by himself, because he likes to be there. What he does is, I remember the days at Ananda, when he was at Ananda College, he used to always come to the just outside the office entrance. There's a parapet-like thing, a wall which encloses the office area. He'll come and lean against the parapet wall, and he'll just look around and watch the people who are coming in, the students, the masters, teachers, and this is before school starts. So by 7 he's there. So can remember once, this was long ago when Mahatma Gandhi when he was assassinated, I think. We gave a long speech, and he was virtually a great fan of him. And there was a time that Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, he came visiting Sri Lanka. I can't remember exactly what the occasion was. Even during that time, there was a day that he spoke to the students and the rest at school. Talking about his Indian leader and various aspects of his life, and again referring to the independence movement, when India got freedom from Britain. I mean, as a nation, they became a free nation. So there again he spoke very highly. And looking back at his life, one prominent feature of his was the simplicity. The way he dresses, the kind of shoes or slippers he uses, and the general. But he was very, very particular about that his clothes were properly ironed and washed and clean, and I remember his although he was always wearing white, his clothes were spotlessly clean and beautifully ironed, and that's the result of my mother, who took a great interest in his well-being in every aspect of his life. I was considered to be the naughtiest of the 5 children that he had. I was the third in the family, and I was mischievous of the lot. And the thing that I remember very much is that he never ever said one harsh word, and never ever said anything even to as a kind of enforcing some kind of fear. No, nothing of the sort. It was always love and kindness and soft talk, and softly he will say, "Don't do it like that. You're harming this, that, and the other. Or you're harming somebody, or don't behave like that." My father, as I remember him, he was a very kind person. He treated everybody alike. It doesn't matter what your background is, what your where you came from, what language you speak, what religion you believe. Why I say that is, even at the school that I studied, both at Ananda, before that at Dharmaraja, there were Tamil teachers, there were Tamil students, there were Hindu, meaning Hindu and Christian people, including Muslim children, and some of my closest friends were Tamil friends, and not only that, there was a time that we had to select one subject other than English or Sinhalese, and that meant I had to study either Latin. And as soon as that was the case, my father introduced Tamil to all Sinhalese students. I went in and joined the Tamil class to study Tamil. This was at Ananda. So when you think of his life in that context, he was never a racist person. He was for every whoever the person is, doesn't matter, so long as he was a human being, a true human being, who was swear by every person. As I remember, he was swear by everybody. Whether he can be a so-called person working in the hostel, can be either cook or servant person who is cleaning or whatever. The way I remember him is that he treated them, he spoke to them the same way that he would talk to us. So that's the simplicity and the kindness and the compassion he had for human beings. So looking back, he was one of the, not because I'm saying this, not because he is my father, one of the kindest people that I have known in my life. And to the extent that when he talks to people, he uses the kindest of words, like in Sinhalese we'll say enna yanna, avila kanna, vadiyenna. That kind of tone of language. These normally the monks use that kind of soft language. So he was a person who used that to everybody. It doesn't matter whether he was the big man or a educated man or a poor man, or whatever the situation was, is immaterial to him. He treated everybody alike. That was one thing that may have changed my own life in the way I respect people. So I believe it is nothing of me. It is my the standard are set by my own father. I can truly say that. The time that when he left his role as principals of Ananda and Dharmaraja, when he retired from being a principal, and later on he got active in helping other situations in the country, like discrimination, like the so-called Catholic action that was started by the Catholic Church, and where there were definite instances where people were treated unfairly, including the students who performed excellently well in various activities such as cadetting and shooting and various other sports activities. How when they were discriminated by people in higher up positions, even such as the government sector. For example, I know very well a close friend of mine who became an army commander. He did excellently well as a student. He came one of the top cadets during that particular year among all the students, all the cadets of Sri Lanka, and how he was not even selected for even a minor role in the army. He was not selected in any way. How my father had to get involved in that matter, and he went to the highest authority and made representations, and can remember that made a big change to that person, who later ended up being very smart and able army personnel. So these are one of the few things that I can remember, how he got involved. And even in job situations where people who rightfully should be employed, they were rejected, either because they came from the wrong school or wrong background or whatever the area, can be even the wrong religion. That's where the Catholic Action was active at one stage. And these are the factual things that happen, and it's wrong for anybody to deny any of that. But these are things that happen during the time that I myself was a young fellow and a student before that. And these are things that really happened where he got involved, and he did not like any unfairness to take place, not only among whatever the race be, that he want fairness by everybody. That is definitely a feature of my father, and number one, he was a human being. He's one of the closest friends. For there were famous people like Kandaya Vaidyanathan, Sir Kandaya Vaidyanathan, I think. He was a very well known Sri Lankan civil servant who held very high positions within the government sector. He was one of his closest friends. And there was also a person called Mr. Kandaya Vaidyanathan. Even people like famous lawyer, I think he's Mr. G.G. Pondambalam, and even Mr. Chellanayakam. They were people who known to him. And I very well remember the times when there was a particular Catholic priest who used to visit my father very regularly, especially comes on either Saturday for lunch or Sunday for lunch. I can't remember exactly what date. He used to come regularly, and he has long discussions with my father. Furthermore, if anyone takes the trouble to look at the website that had been started by someone or other about my father's happenings, that's, I think, referred to as LHmettananda.com. If anyone takes the trouble to look at that, there are so many articles in that. And the very first, I think, refers to the language problem. And it will be very interesting for someone to go through those articles and see what kind of man he was, and what his thoughts were for various matters affecting the nation. And his fairness is proved fully by one fact that there was one letter that he had addressed to, I think it's an open letter to the editor, where he openly criticized two people. For that matter, they were Buddhist monks who were referred to as Dushila monks, and he boldly mentioned what they were doing, which was harmful to the nation, meaning the unity of the country. So, and he himself was criticized by these people for the fact that he took a bold stand in doing the right thing by not only the Sinhalese people but also the Tamil people as well. And I think he regularly spoke about the vernacular as main aspect of the language. He didn't mention either Sinhalese or Tamil. That's my recollection. Please go through the website and see to yourself the truth of all these things. One of the main reasons why I agreed to speak out and explain about my own opinions about my own father, the main reason why I decided to do that was not with the intention of glorifying my father who is dead and gone. I like people too. see what kind of man he was by going through his articles, and that will give you a very good picture of the kind of man he was. So I know that for certain, never ever, not once did he ever criticize anyone else's beliefs or religion. And what was the purpose of his getting involved in these public matters after leaving, after retiring from his school activities? The main fact is that he wanted a different nation for Sri Lanka, of fairness, of kindness to everyone, and doing what is right by everyone, not just favor only one people or one crowd of people or one people who, just because they come from a particular part of Sri Lanka or particular caste or whatever nonsense that he never ever believed in. It was for fairness of each and every one, that each and every one will be treated in fairness, and everyone will be given the opportunity to do well in life. That is my father.